I'm Melinda Dubroff. I'm the Registrar of Voters for San Joaquin County. We're here today for the Elections Transparency and Observation Workshop. We're out here in the warehouse today, and we're here to talk about elections transparency and for you to see a little bit about what's going on in the warehouse. We've got two new voting technologies that we're implementing this year. The one you see behind me are the cases for our electronic poll books. The electronic poll books, called poll pads, replace our paper rosters. So this will actually be the most public-facing new technology that the voters will see. Instead of finding their name in a paper roster and signing, they're going to pull it up on an iPad. It'll be a lot easier, simpler, and we're going to be able to monitor wait times, which will be very helpful. So there's a lot going on in the warehouse today. These pack flat boxes are actually, they turn into the red, white, and blue voting booths that you see on election day. These silver booths are where we keep our additional language materials for the voters. We've got ballot facsimiles and more information. These actually came from County of Sacramento. We're lucky enough that now that they've gone to completely all vote by mail with no polling places, they didn't need those, so good for us. We've got a bunch of trucks in the warehouse. We're going to be packing those with the voting equipment to go out to pick up centers for election officers to pick up the materials next Saturday. A lot going on. Behind me you see the poll ballots being inventoried and audited. This is where we make sure that we've got the right ballots in the right boxes to go to the right precincts for voting on March 3rd. The law requires us to order 75% of the number of total registered voters in a precinct, 75% ballots. I don't know that the code is completely caught up because 80% of our voters already have a ballot because they're permanent vote-by-mail voters. So part of the inventory and the audit, just for QC, part of it is to pull out the extra ballots that we don't anticipate there's need for on election day. But we keep those in reserves, and we'll actually have them in reserve at our voter service center in Tracy and in Lodi. This will be new for us, so that if extra ballots are needed in those areas, they don't have to come all the way back to this warehouse on election day. They'll be out in the field. In these carts, you see that they're staged to go to our pickup centers next Saturday. These have already been function tested and predefined. These are the new TouchWriter ballot marking devices that replace the old Diebold machines. So there are a couple of important features about this equipment. One is it's really enhanced and escalated cybersecurity. And the other piece is that every voter in San Joaquin County will be casting a paper ballot. So no vote totals, no votes or ballots are stored on this equipment. This is a ballot marking device where they make their choices on the touch screen, and in here is a printer, and it prints out a full-faced paper ballot that looks like everyone else's. So these are available at the polls and at our voter service centers, and we anticipate most people are just going to want to vote on a paper ballot. But these have an audio function. So for people who have difficulty reading, whether it's a learning disability or limited English proficiency or a visual impairment, these can really help out voters. The system also has contrast features and can increase font size. There's a lot of good features on these machines. Over here, there's a lot going on, I tell you. This warehouse gets reconfigured multiple times throughout the election. So when you come, hopefully you'll come to observe on election day, this will be completely rearranged. And in this area is where the ballots actually get scanned and adjudicated and tabulated on election night. So when voters vote at the polls, they put their ballot in the ballot box. Everything comes back here to the warehouse. There will be 6 scan stations set up, and the ballots will be scanned by precinct. They'll also be adjudicated, and that means if there's any question of voter intent that a human needs to adjudicate, 2 people will look at that ballot image on the screen and determine, what the true voter intent was. A good example would be someone filled in the voting box, then crossed it out, and then filled in another voting box. Well, the scanner would pick that up as an overvote, and that particular contest wouldn't be counted. But a human can obviously tell the voter's intent. So this system flags it, and 2 people are going to adjudicate that on screen. It's a closed system. This is not connected to the internet. None of the voting equipment is connected to the internet. So this area will be much bigger for the scanning. Once the ballots have been scanned and adjudicated, that information will be put onto an encrypted USB and then walked over to our server room, our secure server room, where it's tabulated. When you walk, it used to be called a sneaker net because you wear your sneakers, that air gap is part of the cybersecurity architecture here. So if there's some failure somewhere else, it doesn't carry on through the entire system. So they get tabulated in there throughout the night. We'll be giving election results updates, and again, in that system in there for tabulation, it's not connected to the internet either. So once we go through our reconciliation and tabulation piece, then we burn a disk and take it over to a laptop in that office back there to post to the website and to the Secretary of State's results reporting platform. So I think it's really important that voters understand that their votes matter, and that they're not being counted and tabulated connected to the internet, just the results reports. So the warehouse continues to be configured. In this area is where we have put together the generic precinct supplies, like I don't know, seals and pens and things like that. Those all go and are distributed to the election officers prior to election day, and they go into what we call a pizza box, because it's kind of like a pizza box. But the precinct-specific materials are put together in our office in downtown Stockton, and those contain precinct-specific things like how to set up the polling place correctly for ADA access. We've got floor plans and layouts and things like that. So those we do at our office. And Friday night, before we distribute the materials, Billy and his crew come down to the downtown office and bring all that back here and put them out in the trucks. So it's quite an operation, and it all kind of has to be last minute because we need the materials to be as up to date as possible. So We don't have the black ballot boxes set up right now because we're not there yet, but there'll be a kind of a sea of black ballot boxes going out this way, where they're putting the ballot boxes, generic precinct supplies and precinct specific supplies into the ballot box. Now, the workshop that we're doing today is on election transparency and observation, and this is part of it. And we'd love for people maybe next year to come to this workshop here, especially on this particular day when there's so much going on. But most importantly, even on election day, so you can see the process and the flow. I think transparency is so important. You know, elections is not a black box. It's a polycarbonate glass box, so people can see in. If people don't trust that the will of the people is being reported as the election results, turnout's going to go down, and really, you know, it's all about democracy. So that's why transparency is so important to us, and part of that is going to observable events like what's going on now, or coming to our office to look at how we sort vote-by-mail envelopes, vote-by-mail ballots, how we qualify those. There was a myth put out there a long time ago about counting vote-by-mail ballots or provisional ballots and how that goes on, and you know, there was a myth of distrust around that. And I think if people come to our office, they will see the effort and precision that we put into that. And so that's why these workshops are so important to us.